Much, Mr. Chair, and Ministry, if you wouldn't mind, we'll go back and forth on this, if that's all right. Yeah. Thank you very much. So I'll start. I'd like to continue talking about water, specifically page 130, line 4.3, water management, and what I'm quite curious about are applications under the Water Act, whether processing times for applications made for development or under the Water Act. Do you track the amount of time it takes to process those applications in different offices around the province?
Honourable Member, I've heard a lot of feedback about Water Act approvals, and that's why we have done some reorganization within the department in order to clear up some of that backlog and rationalize a bit of that system. And I'm actually going to ask ADM John Conrad from the Operations Division to talk about how they've done that, because they've actually undertaken a number of strategies to certainly meet the concerns of municipalities and others around Water Act approvals. We hear it from a number of different people, so please.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Honourable Member, it's a pleasure to answer your question. Water Act applications and all approval applications.
Sorry to interrupt. Please introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Forgive me. I'm John Conrad. I'm the Assistant Deputy Minister for Operations in our ministry. So just to be brief and concise, all backlogged applications in our department, we've taken a very evidence-based scientific approach. There's a number of deliverables over a 3-year campaign plan to eradicate tactical backlog as it exists in Alberta right now, but also to leverage new technologies and innovations with significant partners like the Alberta Energy Regulator to set Alberta up for the next generation of streamlined approvals. Specifically to timing on Water Act, one of the deliverables of the year just completed was to catalog how long it is taking and to baseline against like an 80 percentile qualification from submission to approval, and to improve upon service standards, which we have now established. So,
thank you. I would really love if the Minister could table that data. Would be really helpful. I'd be really interested. Yeah, that would be really, really interesting to see. And is it broken down by region, by office? How is that? And what the benchmarks are? I'm quite interested in this.
It's broken down by region, perhaps not by office, but certainly by type of legislation for all of our approval types, all of the warts, all of the data. And we suffer for legacy systems, but we are on a great trajectory. We're in the second year now of our 3-year plan, and we could make that report and that data available with pleasure.
That'd be like Christmas for me. I love that stuff. That's
very sad, Honourable Member. But moving on.
Somebody needs to do some. This is my kind of nerd, this kind of stuff. But in all sincerity, I mean, I think I'm very pleased to hear that you're doing that. I do think it's obviously very important, and I will acknowledge that as government, sometimes these are the sorts of things that, like you say, warts and all, may not actually necessarily always tell a positive story. But if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So I think it's very, very important that we do that. I do want to raise a specific concern on behalf of my colleague, the member for Calgary Southeast. I understand that there have been some significant challenges in completing, I think it's about a 200-meter boardwalk over a wetland in the Rotary Mattamy Greenway, which is about 140-kilometer pathway around the perimeter of Calgary. And this is something I understand that's been going on since 2016, and they've had some real challenges. And one of the kind of paradoxes of this is because that path, that bridge or whatever it is over a boardwalk over a wetland hasn't been completed, unfortunately it means people just jump off the pathway, trample the wetland, and kind of ironically probably make the situation quite a bit worse. So would just like to know if you can comment at all about the status of that particular application. Absolutely,
Honourable Member. I have heard from those constituents and from the member for Calgary Southeast himself. I believe there is an update. I don't know if the ADM has it off the top of his head, but let's see.
So Mr. Chair, ADM John Conrad, Operations Division. It's a pleasure to respond to your question, Honourable Member. So Calgary Parks Foundation and the situation that you've just characterized, yes, suboptimum, and there's some toing and froing with the energy that's gone into that, and protecting the wetland, and trying to optimize how the bridge and the path are going to be married up, if you will. So we are meeting with the foundation. We're putting the hard facts on the table and trying to find what will be an optimized solution that's going to protect the wetlands in play, but eradicate the issue that you've described of just treading through it anyway. So it's one that it's a live conversation, but I don't really have much more to amplify beyond what the minister has said. But we are on it, and we are empathetic. We just have to protect the wetlands and intervene until we get to the final solution set.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I'm going to move on to discussions about rehabilitation of wild animals, in particular black bears. Of course, I know that was an issue that was very much on your ministry's radar last fall, and it continues to be something that constituents of mine and others have brought to me. So I understand that some changes have been made to allow for the rehabilitation and approved facilities of black bear cubs and others. I guess I'm just curious about what the protocol is for approved facilities to apply under that, those changes. If you could just let me know kind of where things are with that. I understand there was an announcement not too long ago. I just want to, there's a lack of clarity on exactly what that means.
Honourable Member, I was just being briefed by Deputy in real time on this because this file is active right now. So Deputy probably has the latest information.
Yes, as the Honourable Member mentions, it is a very live issue and generates a fair bit of email. I don't think all of the 1,000 emails are from my 19-year-old daughter, but a good portion of them I recognize. The provinces of British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba all allow some rehabilitation of black bear cubs younger than 1 year of age. It is a bit of a complex issue, and there's some debate among scientists. However, we have made a decision, the minister in her capacity, that we would change the policy and issue protocols for the rehabilitation of black bears under a year. We'll be sharing those protocols with the interested facilities. There are a number of groups in Alberta who've expressed an interest in operating a facility, one particular, and they do require some minimal standards, a separation of the bear cubs from other animals, the ability to transport them safely, and that sort of thing. We'll be going over those draft protocols with them in over the next few days, and then be publicly issuing them. There will be, I think, the best way to describe them, that there'll be interim guidelines and protocols for this year, because we would like these facilities to be able over time to do more outreach and more public education on how to deal with, if you spot an orphan black bear in the woods, you know, what the proper protocols are to deal with them. But they won't have those funds in the first few months to get going, so we'll support them as best we can.
Okay, that's very good to know. So am I hearing then, you said the next few days, so is it sort of, am I hearing days, not months, in terms of when we're going to be?
Hunting season upon us.
Yeah.
Right,
and
so
they're waking up now.
They are, notwithstanding, yeah. I was hoping in your role as Environment Minister you could make the weather improve, but perhaps not.
The idea is that we stop changing the climate.
Yeah. I should stop making it so easy for you. So I would like to then just ask about wildlife population surveys, and I'm just curious how current the data is around what our populations are of black bears in particular, of grizzly bears in this province. When's the last time we completed a comprehensive census or survey of black bear populations and grizzly bear populations?
It happens every year, so our most up-to-date numbers are there are 40,000 black bears in Alberta, so we do surveys geographically, and we try to make sure that we're covering as much ground as possible for the specific numbers that are allowed in a hunt in any given wildlife management unit, which are actually quite small units across the province. I'm not sure if there's anything more to add from the Policy and Planning Division of Fish and Wildlife.
I can say that there's constant monitoring of these animals. Whether I can't answer directly whether they look at them every single year, but absolutely we have counts that are going on.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on